Hello everyone, welcome back to GGN. We're going to continue with where we left off. We talked about Syria and Iran, what was going on in the Middle East, and we kind of segued into the economy and talking about how bad it's actually getting, especially in Australia, but all around the world, in China and the United States, and about how all this Iran war talk is kind of deflecting what's going on in the quote in the homeland. I hate that term, but it's like what's going on at home, right? Another shooting. There's shootings every week now. It's getting insane. And they can't all be psyops, right? There's got to be these people that are just fed up, that can't take it anymore. And one of the things that is going on as the economy degrades is going after veterans. It's just going after gun owners and going after people who believe in God. I don't know what the deal is with it, but it seems to be true. And now another one was arrested here. This was a little different from this individual over here, because it was just like this individual, Brandon Raub, whatever. This guy was actually running around in army gear and body armor and stuff like that. He said, along a road adjacent to a high school, so maybe they're concerned about that. But he was having a training rifle in hand, so. But, one of the things that I saw on a comment board was why these veterans, well, they're aware firsthand of the quote, the empire's, what they do, their atrocities and stuff that they carry out. And that it's not about maintaining freedom and stuff like that and democracy. So when they come home and they start talking about it, they have to squash any kind of trend, any kind of people talking. So that's why I said in the last video, best thing you can do is just talk to people, because once you start talking to people, they start thinking, and once they start thinking, they get that idea. That's way more dangerous than bullets. So this guy has some credibility, like this guy over here. He's a Purple Heart recipient, you know what I mean? No criminal background or anything, and he's getting a psych eval and had his weapons taken from him. So this guy who was, this said here that this was in West Virginia, that he was on $50,000 cash bond. He was ordered to the ground and his weapons were seized. And it says he's not a terrorist. He's not a bad kid, the suspect's father said. He told the Herald Mail. So links will be posted in YouTube's video description. Support William Alomar is a Facebook group. You can go in there and join or help him out if you want. That's insane, though. An act of terrorism, committing a terrorist act. Wow. Detained Marine veteran now released per judge's order. So it said here, Circuit Court judge has ruled that the Marine veteran detained over anti-government Facebook posts will be released from a psychiatric hospital. So this is after the judge said the original petition for Rob's detention contained no facts. In other words, there was no information on why he was being held, and the judge deemed this violated civil liberties. So my website is ggnonline.com. There's a poll up here. You can vote on there. Do you believe the recent media attention on the feminist ban in Russia and the protests of the Russian embassy in London was a Western strategy to demonize and destabilize Russia? So far, a majority are saying 17%. So you can follow by email, and all my recent videos are there as well. Okay, so moving on here, 19 people wounded in Chicago shootings in 18 hours. So the city that's just immersed in these cell phone and Wi-Fi towers used for a lot with mind control, being pulsed constantly. It says here 19 people have been shot in at least 7 shooting incidents across the U.S. third most populous city of Chicago. And it says here with 13 people shot and wounded in a 30-minute spat of violence. So it says here 8 of the victims, mostly teenagers, were struck at 79th Street and Essex Avenue around 9:30 p.m. Then 2 men were shot in the East 37th Street and taken to University of Chicago. So the younger man was shot in the head and the other in the right arm. Around the same time, 2 other men were wounded in the arm in a drive-by shooting in the West 39th Place in Brighton Park neighborhood. About 15 minutes later, a 24-year-old man was shot in the leg and taken to Jackson Park Hospital. It says that the man told the police he was talking on his phone when he heard a single shot and realized he was wounded. That's not the first story. I remember earlier in the summer stories about that, just rash of shootings all within a short period of time, and people were just walking down the street on their phones. So it says here earlier Thursday evening, 4 men were wounded in a shooting in a little village around 5:20 p.m. They were strolling along the South Kedzie Avenue when at least one person inside a vehicle with others opened fire. Just after midnight, a 17-year-old was shot in the back and taken to Stroger Hospital in serious conditions, and another 17-year-old was shot after 1:30 a.m. I guess it's better that they have the title of the city of broad shoulders or whatever instead of the city of brotherly love. And it says here, 2 dead in shooting at Empire State Building. Disgruntled gunman laid off from his job a year ago opened fire outside the iconic Empire State Building on Friday morning, killing a former coworker before he was shot and killed in a hailstorm of gunfire to New York City police officers. 9 bystanders were wounded in exchange of gunfire, and that was actually by police, yeah. It says here they may have been accidentally shot by cops who fired off 14 rounds. How about that mentally ill guy that I just reported on recently that was shot, I don't know how many times, I think it was, would they say, shot 30 times? I didn't watch the video, but a viewer did watch it, and it was something like, from what he described, like RoboCop. These guys, like, one guy actually used up his full clip. The guy went down after a few shots, and then they just kept firing and firing. He said it was just very disturbing. Unfortunately, I covered this before along the recent shootings, and I think what the powers that be want right now more than anything is these people to go on these desperate shooting rampages due to the economy, to go after their bosses. I made that point or argument about 2 weeks ago, and we're just going to keep seeing more of it. So this says here, does the recent spree killings say something about our society, or are they isolated incidents? People are saying that people are becoming every day more desperate. There's no such thing as isolated incidents. It's the economy. He says it's a reflection, part of a society, frustrated, polarized, bad economy, and a black president. Again, like I said, that's another sob to put him in there. It says here, unfortunate incidences that will escalate as desperation grows. It's not just the economy, but frustration with the government. So, Boulder, Colorado University students can pack pistols this term. Officials worried after court nixes campus gun bans. This is kind of surprising. Students arriving for classes at the University of Colorado in Boulder this term could be packing more than pencils and books. Due to a Supreme Court decision, students can now bring their guns to school. So the court ruled that the university's ban on guns was unconstitutional. Weapons must still be concealed, can only be carried by a permit holder who's at least 21 years old. That's kind of weird, because aren't most of the people that go to college 18 to 21 or whatever? And cannot be brought to undergraduate dorms or sporting events. So of course, the mostly communist or liberal campus officials, university officials, now that's a bureaucracy if you've ever been into college, says here, we're more concerned about someone who's not experienced or trained in the use of a handgun getting access to one by accident or purpose and possibly causing injury to themselves or others. What about the cops that accidentally shot 9 fucking people in the Empire State Building shooting? See, cops can make mistakes. The authorities can make mistakes, but slaves cannot make mistakes. So you got to make sure that they prevent you from doing anything, right? It's always in the name of keeping you safe from yourself. Smirking but sane Anders Breivik apologizes for not killing more people. He said that I would wish to apologize to all the militant nationalists that I wasn't able to execute more. So he got what he wanted, a ruling that paints him as a political terrorist instead of a psychotic mass murderer. So apparently he's going to get the max sentence, which was 21 years in prison. He's going to get his own room too. I tried looking for the article, I couldn't find it, but it's got like his own little 3-room pad. Kind of weird what's going on. So there's some people in the conspiracy field who feel that he's actually working for Zionists, who are all about the anti-Muslims, being that he always talked about the Crusades and the Knights Templar and basically Illuminati symbology. It says here, biology gives American psychopaths a legal break. They're talking about something called neuroscience or neurobiology. It says here, criminal psychopaths in the U.S. whose lawyers provide biological evidence for their brain condition are more likely to be sentenced to shorter jail terms than those who are simply said to be psychopaths. The researchers from the University of Utah who conducted a study said they had problematic implications for how brain science might affect criminal justice in the future. So just keep an eye on James Holmes and see what happens with him. He was actually studying neuroscience, and again, who really knows what was behind it, the whole conspiracy thing, but it's not good for the future of humanity. because it means you won't be responsible for your actions. So yeah, traditionally neuroscience has been seen as a branch of biology, so, and has to do with psychology. It's a whole blend of things. A thief barges 3-year-old girl to ground to steal her iPad after waiting for her mother to turn her back. So yeah, says they said they spotted the female thief loitering in the shadows of an alleyway with a man in the moments before she struck. So they believe the attack was premeditated, and the couple had targeted her family because they knew the young child would be unable to put up a fight. And apparently it was a $900 tablet. Man, those things are expensive. A father is admitted to throwing a 3-month-old daughter to her death from a bridge. Accused of throwing his daughter off a bridge repeatedly, confessed to doing so to investigators in New Jersey. Then in New Jersey, a mom decapitates a toddler's son. Siobhan Thomas recently regained custody of the boy. It says here the New Jersey mother killed herself after decapitating her 2-year-old son just months after the child welfare workers returned the boy to her. So is it because the state didn't keep detaining the boy? I think it has to do with family, dude. You know, where's the family in all this? So it says here, a woman 91 dies after her daughter left her on the toilet for days. So then you could say, oh, well, see, this is what happens when you leave them in the hands of the family members. But it says that after she was left sitting on the toilet for 2 days, has been charged with manslaughter. So she doesn't look like a very friendly person. But what about the NHS in England, right? Their hospital healthcare system. Hospitals could be using care pathway to hasten deaths of elderly to save money. So again, I'm just trying to show here, you know, as far as, you know, authorities, okay, slaves, not okay. A Tibetan monk has been tortured in prison, says a rights group. Said he was beaten, tortured, and imprisoned after his arrest in the area that had become a flashpoint for a wave of protests against Chinese rule, said on Thursday. He is accused of sharing photographs and information about the self-immolation of a monk or Tibetan who last October became the first woman, I remember that, to set herself alight as part of the wave of protests. Yeah, there's been almost, what, like 35, almost 40 Tibetans and monks that have killed themselves, burned themselves in the past, what, year? Then we have MP wants journalists fined for mistakes. Federal Liberal, this is in Australia, of course, backbencher Steve Gibbons, those got weird words overseas, man, has called for fines for journalists who publish misleading or incorrect stories. Yeah, like I said, the state is the purveyors of justice, so it means that they're also the purveyors of truth, which is why they can detain you for making a Facebook comment that they don't like. So Mr. Gibbons told Parliament that people were losing faith in journalism and voiced concerns about the lack of accountability of this sector. People are losing faith in journalism because, you know, they're owned by these, they've been consolidated. It's called media consolidation, so you're getting very, very few voices, and they're coming from these big just multi-billion-dollar corporations, global corporations, and it's basically just PR for these companies. They don't really, they're not really in it for the truth or anything, dude. So, but no, he's saying that we need to crack down on them for misleading news reports like Fox and CNN do all the time. Temporary suspension of the right to publish or broadcast will lead to a major improvement in the accuracy and fairness of our media. It's interesting that he used this as an example. And when a media outlet, journalist, or redneck shock jock deliberately broadcasts or publishes a statement that they know is factually wrong, it says here, and it's proven that they knew it was factually wrong, they ought to be subject to an appropriate penalty. So this is dangerous, guys, because this is like in the UK where they're actually saying it's illegal. They brought down a website that was talking about autism and vaccines. You know, or go into climate change. You know, you can't talk about climate change. Well, actually, they're already doing that in Australia. Don't serve up carbon lies. It says here, restaurants could face up to $1.1 million if waiters or sales staff wrongly blame the carbon tax for price rises or exaggerate the impact. This is the same government as telling companies that they should consider offshoring their jobs, that they should boost the amount of immigrants, that the company should be willing to hire these immigrants. So as they say in Australia, bloody blokes. On the lookout for, absolutely prepared to call off the GOP convention if this hurricane threatens. Maybe so less people show up. Agencies warn of a possible anarchist attack. Oh, that means more security. That police are preparing for mass arrest during the convention, which is why they've even cleared out a whole jail to handle the mass arrest. Thank you.